أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 60, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 71 to 85. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have believed. Khudu hidrakum, take your precaution. Khudu from the root hamza kha dal, akhadha. Akhadha is to take, and khudu is a command, an amr. You all take. Do this. Seize. Adopt. Adopt what? Hidrakum, your defense, your precaution. Hidr is from the root ha, dal, ra. And hidr is used for everything through which defense is taken, through which one defends himself. Everything. Whether it is a person, or it is a sword, or it is a plan, it is a building, anything through which a person defends himself, through which defense is taken. Defense from what? From danger, from a calamity, from some difficulty. So anything that could harm you, something that you take as defense, that is called hidr. And the word hadr is from the same root as well. Hadr. Hadr al-maut. Remember? Fear of death. That is what? To be alert and cautious. To be alert. Against what? Against something that could harm you. So hadr and hidr, how are they connected? Hadr is the feeling of fear that makes you alert. And hidr is the next step, what you take to defend yourself. Because it's quite possible if the person is alert, he is careful, something could harm you, but he doesn't take any precaution, any means of defending himself. So hidr is the fear, and hadr is what one adopts to protect himself. So over here Allah says, خُذُوا حِذْرَكُمْ, take your precaution. What does it mean by take your precaution? Meaning be on the alert, be prepared, keep yourself safe. For what? For any attack from the enemy. If the enemy attacks you, you should be prepared to defend yourself. If the enemy attacks you, you should be able to fight him back. So خُذُوا حِذْرَكُمْ, take your precaution to defend yourself and also to fight the enemy. And then فَانْفِرُوا سُبَاتٍ, then advance as subatin. Subatin is a plural of subatun. And what kind of a group is subah? A small detachment of who? Skilled soldiers. Now there are many other words that are used for groups. For instance, the word jund. Jund is also used for an army. But in particular, the word jund is used for an army that is armed, that is very well armed, that is equipped, that is going to fight a battle. Similarly, the word fawj is used. And fawj is used for a group, or for an army when it's very speedy, when it's very quick, when it's very fast. Hizb is also used, and hizb is generally used for a political group. Fi'ah. What is fi'ah? Fi'ah is not just an army, but it can refer to any group in which there is mutual cooperation. Because fa'a yafi'u is to return to one another. So the group mutually decides what to do. They mutually do what needs to be done. And over here, subatin has been used. And subah is used for a small band of brave men. So فَانْفِرُوا سُبَاتٍ, then go out, advance in small groups. Why small groups? To show that one after the other. One after the other. Let a small group deal first. Then, if they need reinforcement, then send a reinforcement. Then if another reinforcement is needed, then send that reinforcement. And secondly, فَانْفِرُوا سُبَاتٍ, why? If that is what the situation needs. أَوِنْفِرُوا, or all of you march forth, جَمِيعًا, all together. What does it mean by جَمِيعًا? Meaning all of you together. Every single one of you go forth for the battle. What does it mean by that? meaning according to the need. If the situation is that all of you must go forth, each and every single person is necessary, then all of you go. And if only a small group can do, then let them do the job. So we see that in the previous ayat, the obedience to Allah and obedience to the Messenger were mentioned in great detail. And here the people of Iman are encouraged to make preparations to defend themselves, to protect themselves from the enemy of the deen. What do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn about the obligation of taking precaution. Many times people think that they don't need to take any precaution. Why? They say that it's tawakkul not to take any precaution. But what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Tie your camel and then do tawakkul. So if you need to take precaution with regards to anything, then it's not against Iman, it's not contrary to Iman. In fact, it is a part of Iman. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, khudu hidrakum. And we see that many times we think that just because we're Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to help us. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to prepare, we don't need to plan. This is the work of Allah, this is the deen of Allah. Allah Himself will take care. But over here, yes, you are believers. Yes, you do have trust upon Allah. Yes, Allah will help you. But at the same time, you also have to do something to help yourself. You have to guard yourself. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of being conscious and alert about one's surroundings. The obligation of being conscious, the obligation of being alert. A believer cannot be passive, that he doesn't care about the obvious things that are going on around him. And similarly, a believer cannot be, they use the word wahm, that on every little thing you start doubting, you start getting confused, that maybe it's this, maybe it's that, should I not? No. A person should be cautious, a person should be alert. Don't be passive, don't go onto either extremes. Like for example, when it comes to cleaning, for instance. One is that a person doesn't see the obvious stains on something. This is what? Being passive. And the other is that a person keeps looking, oh my God, is there any stain? Is there any stain? And he keeps looking. What is that? That is also a waste of time and energy. So a person should be moderate. And what is the way of moderation? That be cautious and alert about your surroundings. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of taking precaution, preparing for defense. And this includes preparing for a plan, having a plan, as well as the resources ready. So two things are necessary. Plan as well as resources. Sometimes we have resources and we don't have a plan. Sometimes we have a big plan, but we don't have the resources. Both are necessary as part of taking precaution. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of being united. How? Where do we learn this from? Because all of the believers are being addressed. Can you defend yourself alone? No. You have to be together. So, this shows us the importance of being united because a person cannot defend himself alone. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of responding to the situation according to what the situation necessitates. That if going in small groups will suffice, then don't waste your resources. Sometimes, if you can make do with a little, then don't waste your money on extra. And if more resources are needed, if you need to spend more, then don't be stingy. Spend your resources according to what? According to the need of the situation. Sometimes we go onto extremes. Sometimes we give more than what is necessary, and sometimes we become stingy. So we learn from this ayah about the obligation of responding to the situation according to the need. وَإِنَّ مِنْكُمْ, and indeed there is among you, لَمَنْ لَيُبَطِّئَنَّ, is the one who lingers behind. Meaning among you believers, there is laman, surely the one who لَيُبَطِّئَنَّ. لَيُبَطِّئَنَّ is from the root letters ba, ta, hamza, from the word bat'un. And bat'un is to be slow. What does it mean? To be slow. Primarily the word means to take very long or to take time in walking from one point to another. It's like, for instance, from here to the masjid. Sometimes we're going And it's as if we're strolling through a park, literally, or we're window shopping, that we will walk so slowly that other people behind us are worrying about their salah because they have to go do wudu and they have to go pray salah. So what is bat'un? Primarily it means to be very slow in walking. And then from this, the word bat'un is used for being lazy, for delaying something unnecessarily, for being lethargic. And the word bat'un is used in two ways. And inshallah this will come again many times, so just once I'm telling you that first of all as lazim. What does it mean by lazim? That when the person is doing an action, only by himself, on himself, meaning he's not doing the action on somebody else. Like the word saddun we learned. What does saddun mean? To stop oneself. So that is what? Lazim. So bat'un is to be lazy oneself. And secondly, it is also used as muta'addi. What does muta'addi mean? To do the action on someone. So saddun, first of all it means to stop oneself, and secondly what does it mean? To stop somebody else. You're doing the action on someone else. So bat'un is also like that. So it is to be lazy oneself, to be lethargic oneself, and secondly bat'un also means to make other people lazy, to make other people lethargic. So it is to be a bad example for others. What does it mean? To be a bad example for others. So bat'un is basically when a person does not do something himself, nor does he encourage other people to do it. Neither is he active himself, nor does he encourage other people to be active. So وَإِنَّ مِنْكُمْ لَمَنْ لَا يُبَطِّئًا, what does it mean? That among you there are some people who hesitate about qital, about going forth for battle in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are those people who procrastinate, those people who delay, those people who make excuses. That when it's obviously the time to go, what do? They don't go, or they delay. They present excuses. And even if they do go, they come back. Like we learned earlier, that at the Battle of Uhud, what happened? Abdullah ibn Ubay and his companions, they went forth with the Prophet ﷺ, but then 300 of them, they came back. So they didn't just hesitate themselves, but they also discouraged other people. Which is why we learned that وَإِذْ هَمَّتْ طَائِفَتَانِ مِنْكُمْ أَن تَفْشَلَ. The two groups from the true believers as well, they were about to give up hope. Why? Because of the bad example that Abdullah ibn Ubay and his companions were setting. And this is something that we see in everything. That if other people are also doing something, then we are encouraged to do. And if other people say, oh no, I'm not doing it. Like for example, I'm not going to that class. Are you going? Don't go. Don't worry. Stay at home, relax. Chill out, don't go there. For example, if there's a class on the weekend, one is that really a person is busy. They have some responsibilities, which is why they can't go. And the other is that you're sitting at home, you have no responsibilities whatsoever. You don't go yourself, and if somebody else wants to go, you also discourage them. This is what tabattu is. So it is to delay, to be lazy, to postpone, to defer, to procrastinate, and to also be a bad example for others. So وَإِنَّ مِنْكُمْ لَمَنْ لَا يُبَطِّئًا فَإِنْ أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ, then if a musibah reaches you, who does you all refer to? The Muslims. That if the Muslims suffer a disaster, a calamity, a misfortune, and what is that misfortune? Like for example, defeat. Like what happened at the Battle of Uhud. Or qatl. Like 70 companions were killed. Qala, he said. Who said? This person who is a bad example. What does he say? قَدْ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ. In fact, Allah has blessed me. Allah bestowed a huge blessing upon me. إِذْ لَمْ أَكُنْ مَعَهُمْ شَهِيدًا, when I was not with them present. Meaning when I was not with the Muslims. So first of all, he doesn't go forth himself. And secondly, if the Muslims who have gone forth, if they do suffer any harm, what does he say? Thank God I was not with them. Thank God I didn't go. Because if I was with them, then I too would have suffered such and such. Over here the word shaheed gives a sense of hadir, meaning one who is present. So he says it's a huge favor of Allah that I wasn't present with them, because if I was present, then what would happen? I would also suffer the same. And notice the word shaheed has been used. And this word is very appropriate in the context. Why? Because even if the hypocrite does go, what is he going to do? He's just going to watch. He's not going to do anything. Do you understand? He's only going to watch. He's only going to be a shahid. He's only going to look. He's not going to do anything. Like some people, they say, okay, fine, we'll help you. But they come and they only stand and watch you do all the work. Huh? So he says that thank God I was not present with them, because if I was, then I would also suffer. We see that when the Prophet ﷺ, when he would call people for battle, the people of true iman, they would step ahead with enthusiasm, with obedience. Samirna wa ata'na. Whatever the Prophet ﷺ told them, they would obey. But at the same time, there were some people who, because of the weakness of their iman, or because of their nifaq, they would show laziness. They would not obey right away. They would slack off. They would delay. So they would remain behind. And they would also encourage other people to stay behind. They wouldn't go forth themselves, and they also stopped other people from going forth. So this is something that is being mentioned over here in this ayah. So what do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn about the prohibition, or at least the dislike, of staying behind and being lazy when it comes to responding the call of Allah and His Messenger. This is something that is disliked. So for example, if the adhan goes, now adhan is said, now what should be the response? That a person should pray salah. So, if a person does not respond, and he does not pray, then what is he doing? He is being lazy. He is staying behind. And this is something that is disliked. Why is it disliked? Because first of all, a person is depriving himself of an opportunity to do good. And secondly, he is also being a bad example for others. He is also setting a bad example for others. Because then other people will say, he is not going, he is not praying, she is not going, so why should I go? I will go when they go. Secondly, we also learn from this ayat that it is a sign of hypocrisy to stay behind and respond lazily. It is a sign of hypocrisy to stay behind and respond lazily. We learn in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 54, about the hypocrites that وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الصَّلَاةَ إِلَّا وَهُمْ كُسَالَى, and that they do not come to prayer except while they are lazy. They only go to the salah lazily. So it's a sign of hypocrisy to be lazy in responding to the command of Allah. Because a person who has iman, as soon as he hears, he says, Ata'na, I will obey. And the other is that a person says, maybe not now, maybe 5 months from now, maybe 2 years from now, maybe later. I can't do this right now. This is a sign of weak iman. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of doing the right thing even if other people discourage. Even if you're the only one. Like for example, you want to do your lesson. And your sister or your friend who's also doing the course, they're not doing it. And they discourage you. So at that time, what should you do? Be discouraged by them and not do your lesson? Not prepare for the test? Not do your assignment? No. You should still do the right thing even if other people discourage you from doing it. Also we learn from this ayat that it is a sign of hypocrisy that a person thinks that he was very lucky in being saved from the trouble and difficulty that other Muslims are suffering from. This is a sign of hypocrisy. What? That a person thinks that he's very lucky that he got saved from the difficulty that other people are suffering from. Now it doesn't mean that a person should ask for difficulties. But you see, the problem over here is that this person is happy. That thank God I did not go. Because if I went, I too would have suffered the same. Because a true Muslim, a true believer, he feels pain when his Muslim brother feels pain. He also has a sense of loss when his Muslim brother experiences or suffers a loss. What does the hadith teach us? That the Muslims are like a body. They're like one body. If one part is suffering, then the entire body feels the pain. Isn't it so? So similarly, if one Muslim is suffering, what should you think? Thank God I didn't do it. Like for example, if some people go for Hajj and maybe their Hajj was very difficult, what should you say? Thank God I didn't go. Thank God I still haven't performed my faridah, my obligation. No. If a person does suffer anything in the way of Allah, it's an honor, because difficulties and calamities are a part of life. And if a person does suffer them in the way of Allah, it's an honor. It's a means of reward. We also learned that a person who loves Allah, he loves the work of deen. He loves the work of deen. He loves the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He takes ownership of it. He takes it as his personal thing. First of all, he is grateful for the fact that he has been chosen to serve the deen, to learn the deen, to spread the deen. And if he does suffer any difficulty, then what does he do? How does he feel? He is content. This is the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَئِنْ أَصَابَكُمْ, and if it reached you, what reached you? فَضْلٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, a bounty from Allah. So if you, O Muslims, if you receive a fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does fadl refer to? Some victory, some benefit, booty. لَيَقُولَنَّ, surely he will definitely say. Who will say? The hypocrite. He will say in regret, كَأَنْ, as if, لَمْ تَكُنْ, it was not, بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُ, between you and between him, مَوَدَّةٌ, any affection. He will say as if there is no affection between you and him. What will he say? يَا لَيْتَنِي, oh, I wish that, كُنْتُ مَعَهُمْ, I was with them as well, فَأَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا, so I would succeed a great success. Meaning I too would have received a great success. So we see that the hypocrite, he is not sincere to the deen at all. He is only concerned about his benefit, about his gain. He's not concerned if the Muslims suffer. He is concerned if he suffers. He's not concerned if the Muslims overall gain benefit. He is only concerned about his own personal benefit. So over here Allah says that if you do receive some fadl, meaning some benefit, some gain, some reward, some success, some victory, he says that I wish I was with them. Why does he say that I wish I was with them? So that he could also gain part of that success. He could also receive some benefits. What are those benefits? Fame, praise, glory, money, wealth. So in other words, the hypocrite, his goal is personal benefit. His goal is personal success. He doesn't care about the deen. He doesn't care about other Muslims. He just wants benefit for himself. And notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here, كَأَلَّمْ تَكُنْ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُ مَوَدَّةٌ, as if there is no mawadda between you and between him. What is this mawadda? Mawadda is love, friendship, affection, and it is such a close relationship in which a person is willing to sacrifice. A person is willing to give up something. Would is from the same root, yawaddu, same root. So mawadda is such love, such friendship, such a relationship in which a person is willing to give up something. And over here, mawadda refers to acquaintance or friendship through deen, through the religion. So this person is claiming to be a Muslim, and if the Muslims suffer a loss, he says, thank God I was not with them. And if the Muslims gain some benefit, what does he say? I wish I was with them so I could also gain some benefit. What does it show? That there is no mawadda between. He doesn't love Islam. He doesn't love the deen. He doesn't love the Muslims. Who does he love? Himself. This is the sign of a hypocrite. That he is only concerned about himself. The deen is not his priority at all. So what do we learn from this ayah? That a believer, he is happy at the success of the deen. A true believer, when is he happy? When is he happy? At the success of the deen. And he is sad at the loss of the deen. And remember that the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always ghalib. It's actually the believers who gain some success or who suffer some loss. So a believer is happy at the success of the Muslims, and he is sad at the loss of the Muslims. And on the other hand, a hypocrite is happy at his personal gain and he is sad at his personal loss. We also learn from this ayah that a person cannot be a true believer until the success and development of deen is more beloved to him than anything else. A person cannot be a true believer until and unless the success of the deen is beloved to him than anything else.